I'd like to call the order the Plan Commission meeting for February 1st, 2022 at 6 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Graff. Here. Commissioner Oliver.
Here.
Alderman Madden.
Here.
Commissioner Gazana.
Here.
Commissioner Buckmaster.
Here.
Commissioner Bartlett.
Here.
Mayor Podolsky.
Present.
Francis Podolsky.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum. Statement of public notice.
The agenda was posted and distributed to all news media requesting notification in accordance with the open meeting laws on Thursday, January 27th.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from January 4th, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Consent business, Resolution PC 011-2022, approval of a two-lot certified survey map for Ryan Jansen located at South 67, West 17236 Martin Drive, tax key number 2176.999. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Old business, Resolution PC 056-2021, approval of an annual review for Fry Automotive that is currently working its way through the system. Okay. Anything new to report on that?
I have a call I need to return I got this morning to try to meet with them and their designer.
All right, thank you. New business for consideration, Resolution PC 005-2022, recommendation to the Common Council to amend the zoning map for the property located at W160 South 6369-6381 Commerce Drive, tax key numbers 2169.993.013.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Adam?
Thank you, Mayor. So this rezoning is to go from BP3 Business Park to, and I think there's a small portion of the lot that's BP2, to the planned development district based on the BP3 district. The whole purpose of this rezoning request is to help facilitate a land split that is being proposed. If you looked at the map in the application, you'll see that the large building, which is housed right now, the Milwaukee Halos are one of the tenants. It's the industrial building on the northern end of Commerce Center Drive. They have a portion on the northern end of their lot that is mostly wooded, a little bit of open space. That's basically between the water tower the city owns and the gingerbread house. That lot is kind of unutilized or underutilized space at this time. The gingerbread house has been looking for some time for options for parking to help try to get some cars off of College. And for a while, Gingerbread House has been trying to work with either the past owner of that commercial industrial site as well as there's a newer owner there. And they're finally kind of come to terms on something that might work out. And as part of the due diligence, it was determined that the BP3 zoned property, the large industrial property, has a 30% open space requirement that's required by that zoning district. In looking at options, we realized that most of our commercial districts in the city, so all the B1, B2, B3, and B4 districts, as well as our main industrial districts, M1 and M2, don't have a formal open space requirement. When the BP districts were set up, BP1, BP2, and BP3, they did have open space assigned to them. So it makes these districts different than all of our other commercial industrial districts. So realizing this, basically the applicant said, you know, can we look for a reduction to some open space from 30 to 20% to allow this land split to happen, which is a following agenda item, as well as, you know, keeping the existing lot in compliance. So they're still requesting that they're, you know, willing to meet 20% open space, just not the 30. So the best way we kind of found to do that and what the applicant chose to do was ask for this planned development. So, you know, planned development allows us some flexibility they want to keep everything the same that normally is in a BP3. The only difference is reducing the open space down to 20%, which is still more than any of our other commercial or industrial districts that aren't BP zoned. Staff's recommending approval. We definitely think this is a good way to kind of help utilize an underutilized portion of the property and help foster economic development and assist an existing business.
Any questions or comments?
As far as the rezoning, is that going to be sold off or leased? Do we know?
Yeah, there's a proposed CSM, which is actually the next item that will show how they want to split that off. And then one of the conditions of the split would be that the split has to be adjoined to adjacent property. So that the way that the Plan Commission resolution is written right now, let me just pull it up here real quick. Yeah, and one of the comments that came out of the public hearing, there were no public hearing comments, but some of the council members asked some questions about kind of tying some conditions to the zoning, which is something they may choose to do at their next action on this, which would be next week. Some of those things could include making the rezoning contingent upon like the land division happening, which is something we traditionally would do anyway.
Did they discuss ingress egress off of College and or from the?
As part of the CSM, we kind of hit on that, but in summary, the county has never wanted this site to have its own access because of its proximity to the intersection, and the county understands that they might join this lot with the gingerbread house, and what they've asked is that there still only be one access point, and they would actually ask that it be reconfigured further from the intersection. The requirement is typically 500 feet, so they're requesting that try to be met. So, as part of gingerbread doing some development, that access would have to be looked at with the county.
Very good.
Further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Moving on to Resolution PC 006, 2022, approval of a two-lot certified survey map located at West 160 South 6369-6381 Commerce Drive, tax key number 2169.993.013.
Move to approve.
Well, second.
Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is that same property. This is splitting off the property that they were talking about. So the proposed lots, one lot, 3.7 acres in size, which is a large commercial site, and then about 0.92 acres in size for the lot that Gingerbread is looking at purchasing. Like we talked about with access, the county's already been involved. They may want that access shifted. This split is contingent upon that rezoning being granted by the Common Council. The technical review of that CSM is still in process, but there's really no big issues that we see at a glance. And we're just going to require some notes relating to that any development on this lot can't happen until there's approval of a buildings and operation plan, and making sure that one of the conditions would be that this lot has to be joined to the Gingerbread House lot because the access issue shouldn't exist on its own.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Moving on to Resolution PC 007, 2022, approval of four-lot certified survey map for James Bessler located on vacant farmland along the south side of Henneberry Drive, tax key number 2239.997.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Adam?
Thank you, Mayor. So this item, number 7 and number 8 and number 9 all go hand in hand. So I guess I can really just kind of talk about them all once, and it kind of covers the details. So this is a larger farm tract of land that they're looking to divide by certified survey map. As you may remember, certified survey maps can only include 4 lots or outlots on each document. But the statutes allow consecutive CSMs. If they have 3 like buildable lots and the 4th lot is left large, as long as the lots are above a certain size, they can redivide that 4th lot into smaller lots. And same thing, they can do the same thing again, split it into 3 smaller lots and redivide the 4th lot. So that's what they're doing here. This is something that we see commonly here in the city. On this first land division, lots are ranged in size from 2.8 acres to 14.9, and then there is a small outlot that exists on the property. And then the subsequent CSMs also have lots that all meet the minimum requirements of the A1 zoning, which is at least 2.75 acres. They all meet the proper width requirements at a glance. Technical review is still pending from our engineers, but it looks like it works and meets the ordinances in general. As part of this, they are proposing to dedicate to improve a city road, which they're listing as Baszler Court. And as part of doing that dedication, there's stormwater management requirements required by MMSD or the DNR. And there is an outlot throughout these CSMs that's also accounted for stormwater. Our engineering staff is in the process of reviewing kind of the preliminary engineering drawings for the roadway and the stormwater pond. All that will be subject to a developer's agreement, and they'll be reviewed by the Public Works and Safety Committee when that comes forward. So it meets the current zoning. Staff does not see any issues. They'll have to follow the normal requirements of the developer's agreement process. Other than that, though, staff's recommending approval.
Questions or comments? If there aren't any, I would actually entertain somebody amending the motion to include resolutions 008 and 009.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment, motion to amend?
No.
Hearing none on the motion to amend, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amendment, okay, then as the motion as amended, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Resolution PC 010, 2022, approval of a building site and operation amendment for Flores Automotive located at South 84 West 18693 Enterprise Drive, tax key number 2223.994.013.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. So the application here is for a BSO amendment or building addition for Flores Automation. They're proposing to construct approximately an 11,000 square foot addition on the south or rear side of the building. They did receive approval from the Plan Commission back in 2021 for a temporary structure to help with some expanding business needs behind the building. They never went forward with that, and I think they realized that there was money better spent in doing a permanent addition, which is what's in front of us today. Property zoned M2, which they're meeting all the M2 requirements. As part of this addition, they want some space to house an overhead crane and machinery for their expanding business. The addition itself is 100% masonry. It's being designed with materials and colors to match the existing building. So in plan form, it definitely appears that it's going to be nice and cohesive with what's existing today. There's some notes that we normally like to see overhead garage doors match the building, but since the existing doors are white, we're fine with the new doors matching the existing doors for more consistency once again on the site. As far as parking goes, a portion of the parking and loading area on the east side of the building is being altered as part of this. They're actually moving some of the parking away from the side property line. They are showing 22 stalls on the easternmost part of the property and 17 spaces on the opposite side of the drive aisle. General design guide does call for landscape islands for every 10 parking stalls. So one of the things that is listed in the resolution, unless the Plan Commission would like to amend this, does state that every 10 parking stalls should include a landscape island, but that's something the Plan Commission may want to touch on. Also, typically when a parking area is either being replaced or installed new, we typically like to see concrete vertical face curb and gutter along the exterior of the parking area. So they are, adjusting the parking on that eastern side. So another thing that is in the Plan Commission resolution that the Plan Commission can discuss if they want to remove or change would be that there is curbing proposed right now, but it's more of a flush curbing, which I'm guessing is for stormwater runoff purposes. We're still suggesting vertical face with maybe cutouts for runoff and drainage, but that's something the Plan Commission can discuss too. As far as refuse enclosure goes, we noticed there was no refuse enclosure on site, and knowing the nature of most businesses, whether it's garbage or recycling, they normally have some kind of need, and those storage containers cannot be outside. This approval does not allow any outside storage of any material or products at any time. So we're just noting that if the refuse and recycling can be kept indoors and just brought out on garbage day, that's one thing, that's fine. But if they need to be outside for more than just, the limited pickup times, then they would need to propose a enclosure on site. Other than that, we think this will be a really nice addition to this facility, definitely help an existing business expand and stay in the community, which is something we're always in favor of. They'll obviously need a building permit for the addition. And like I said, the two things that are probably worth noting would be the landscape island for every 10 stalls, and then that parking edge with the vertical face curb if Plan Commission wanted to discuss. Otherwise, we're recommending approval.
Discussion.
So our firm is the applicant on this along with the owner, and so I'll be abstaining. a couple items. The owner couldn't make it. He's out of town on business. In speaking with him, we will come back in with a dumpster enclosure for staff review, and we don't have any issues with proposing the curb or the islands. That's what we have. I even brought a concept tonight if anyone needs to see it, but otherwise, we don't have any issues with what was submitted or requested.
Any questions, comments, amendments? So as written right now, does it have the?
It would state that they need the islands. I think it adds 1 or 2 islands only, and then the curbing, which sounds like they are willing to add.
All right,
And the dumpster enclosure can just be a permitting thing when they do the building permit.
okay. Hearing no more comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Abstained.
And 1 abstention, sorry. Resolution PC 012-2022, approval of a revised preliminary plat for Kirkland Crossing subdivision located between Martin Drive and College Avenue. Tax key numbers 2173.997, 2173.998, 2170.991, 2176.999, 2173.995, 2173.996.001, and 2173.995.001.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Thank you. So in front of you today is revised Kirkland Crossing preliminary plat. So you'll probably remember seeing this from late last year, the bulk of it, which was 4 parcels that were creating the original Kirkland Crossing neighborhood. And you'll also probably remember rezoning that we recently dealt with that was approved for an adjacent site by Cornerstone Development, John Whalen's team, that was proposing something very similar to Kirkland Crossing. And, they were asking for a plan development zoning under the exact same premise that Kirkland Crossing was proposed under. Since that time, 2 developers talked, and in this case, Ryan Jansen now has, as part of this plan, that Cornerstone property is part of this development, which now leads to a plan that has ultimately 139 single-family homes. So the bulk of the general plan is same as it existed, same access off of College. They were able to realign the access off of Martin to line up with East Drive, which I think our engineers will be very glad to see, as it's a much safer intersection scenario because they have more frontage than they had before. So before there would have been 2 fairly close intersections on Martin. Now there's 1, which definitely creates a better condition for that area. But overall, really the bulk is the same. As far as the plan development goes, one of the things we reviewed with our attorney, just because there was ultimately 2 lots gained as part of this layout, which we don't have an issue with, and we kind of just wanted to vet the idea of, does that affect the plan development zoning? And the consensus between staff and our city attorney, most importantly, was it still meets the intent of the rezoning, because rezoning was really setting minimum lot size, minimum widths, areas, and open space, which are all staying the same. So whether they were able to redesign it to gain a few lots or not, has no negative impact on anything. So as such, we do not need to amend the zoning per our attorney. As far as the one thing that kind of just came up out of this preliminary review, is the idea of they show some phasing lines. Now, one thing we've stressed to developers, we know phasing lines can change as developments plans evolve. So there's no commitment or tie to any kind of phasing lines that are shown, as the preliminary plat's not really the purpose of that. Phasing is more specifically dealt with in construction planning. But since it kind of brought up the question, and just seeing how, talking with the developer more as far as what their intentions for phasing is, one of the things we had listed in the resolution is that the staff suggestion and in the resolution was that the connection to College should be part of phase 2. Now, in talking to the developer, what they show as phase 1 and phase 2 are probably gonna be built in one big phase, which would be the entrance off of Martin and then kind of that eastern wing of the development, and that they'd be willing to make phase 3, the northern part of the northwest corner, which is where that connection to College would occur. But in some staff meetings with engineering and the developer, we're willing to accept an amendment if the Plan Commission wanted to make such, to basically state that, like I said, the phasing is important. What's important is how many lots are accessing one access point, So kind of the number that was kind of internally determined was around 30 lots. Phase one right now shows about 29. So we'd be comfortable suggesting, 30 lots can be on a single access point, but before you could open up another wing of the development, you would need to have a secondary access on the college. Now that could be one of a couple things. It could either be the permanent access that's proposed on the northwest corner of the site, if they want to do that as the next part. Or one of the things staff was open to, if the county's okay with it, which is obviously the big question, is if they were allowed some kind of temporary / permanent, we kind of call it a temporary permanent, but something that for the meantime would allow full ingress and egress of residents more on the eastern part of the development along College. So basically, long story short, we'd like to try to suggest that maybe the amendment in the resolution be made to change from, that a connection to College has to be made rather than at phase 2, but more so once there's more than 30 lots that are wished to be built on. We think that's going to create a safer, condition in the neighborhood as far as ingress and egress goes. Other than that, there's really no questions that we have in our preliminary review. Technical reviews pending. There's one lot, I think, that was slightly under 20,000 square feet, which does need to be amended. Minor detail, though.
Questions, comments?
I think the first, if I may, my first question so since this came back and went back through this, at a previous plan commission, at the end, we discussed the park and rec plan and where things are headed with that and the trail system. And has any further discussion happened here between applicant and any of that? And where's park and recs with the plan that was laid out?
So I know one item was the I don't know if it was the park and open space plan or the conservation plan, the comp plan, talked about looking at acquisitions here for the park. That was something that was deemed by Park and Conservation that they were not looking at any point going forward. So there's no need for the city to look to purchase this. They are providing an internal connection from their main north-south road west to Park Arthur. But as far as trails on the roads leading to this development, Martin or College, there hasn't been any specific further discussions on that. Mayor, do you have anything to add on that? I don't think so.
No, there's discussions on trails in a couple areas around the city. This may be one of them that would go to Park and Conservation for initial recommendation for capital next year. Quite honestly, I don't see either one getting through capital just because of the expense of adding a trail when you're not doing a road is like building a road. So I just don't see that making it through the budget process.
Okay. So in regard to that a little bit further, so just to make sure we're not boxed in, the county we'd be able to work with the county to run an easement if we ever, maybe it's 20, 30 years down the road. I don't know. But eventually, communities continue to grow and trails come in and things like that. Will we be boxed in on this development, do you think? Just noting the houses and the proximity to College Avenue, along with that road width and some of the things that are happening there. That's the only reason why I'm questioning it. So there is definitely a line delineated, which appears to be an easement. I don't know what it's not really labeled on the site plans that we have.
Are you looking along Martin?
Specifically, I'm looking along College right now.
I'm sorry, College. That's what I meant to say. Yes.
Yeah, and there's a secondary line. If we look at, we could start with any of those, the 120, yeah, there you go, 127, 128, 129. See the line along the rear property line looks like a setback line, but also carries through.
So what that would probably, that's a setback line. The way it works for right-of-ways, county roads are dictated by the county. The county has an ultimate right-of-way width map, and I believe for College it shows 100 feet. So that 50 feet you're seeing dimension is from the legal center line of the road. No, that doesn't mean the physical center line, because I don't know where that road sits. Everything goes from the legal center line. So from the legal center line, 50 feet on each half is what a developer has to dedicate as part of a land division. So he can only take care of his half of the road. Obviously, they can't worry about people across the street, but they are going to be, and I'll say whether this shows it or not, that's one thing our engineers will look at. They do have to, and I believe this accounts for it, dedicate their 50 feet on their half of the center line. So the ultimate right-of-way should be 100 feet. So, yeah, I mean, especially with the two-lane road, there should be ample space if there ever needed to be within in the right-of-way. But like I said, that's got to be designed to conditions if that ever happens.
To that point, will the county look at this this development?
Yeah, I believe they preliminarily have, and what they look at for something like this is really minimal, like, yeah, it's 50 feet what we're requiring, so okay.
Sure.
They can't ask for more than what the plan requires, and I believe that's 100 ultimate, which is real typical for a road like that.
Okay.
But yeah, and same thing, they have jurisdiction over access. That's why with our suggested amendment is if phase, if part of phase one is that eastern part, across the trees, that they look to work with the county to see if they can have some kind of temporary access until that more permanent access can be allowed in college.
Okay, yeah, because, I'm just observing the area that we have identified here, and based on the plan that we have in front of us, it looks like the county hasn't even acquired the 100 feet, but I don't know if this is documented.
Yeah, they might not have the other half. A lot of properties owned to the center line, but as part of a land split, which is happening here, they have to dedicate their half. So we'll have the part we would need is the best way to put it.
Okay, and then the second question I have is, could we get some explanation on the phasing? What out of curiosity, why would we do the east phase prior to the empty farm building and land?
I don't know if Bill or Ryan, if you guys want to speak. I mean, I'll give a quick overview, but let them elaborate more. But I think it's the idea of marketability. That eastern phase is desirable lots. And we normally don't dictate how someone would phase as long as our concerns with like access are met. So as long as they can meet our concerns with access be met, we don't have a typical concern, but let the developer.
Really, that is, Adam hit it on the head. The eastern portion of the property is kind of where we want to get to. A lot of the, Kristen here is handling the marketing and all the phone calls that are coming in for the project. And the bulk of the calls that we're getting are for people that are interested in that area. So financially getting to a place, this is a very front-loaded project. We're picking up millions of dollars of land, and then the offsite water and the cost. And I know that's not really something you guys need to consider, but we need to get to a place where we have lots that are, desirable right now that people want to purchase immediately. So it really is strictly, in order to get the development moving along. And the faster we get them sold, the faster we can get on to phase what would be 2, which would be the access out to college. So.
Any other questions?
The only other thing that I remember some comments that came up regarding just wanting some sort of landscape buffer along lots 55 through basically all the property along that eastern side, just maintaining a buffer. And right now in this document, I don't see anything really identified as just a buffer that would stop a potential homeowner from doing something right up to the property line there. So.
Yeah, and any conditions of that original approval, like in that context, are implied to kind of carry over.
Okay.
That was a big talking point. And I think, there's like a landscape preservation easement or something that was proposed.
Like a no-mow for 20 feet or something?
Or something, yeah, that's what I think it was. And that would still carry over. And same thing, that would be something that gets shown in specific detail on the construction plans, as well as will be shown on the final plat. Keep in mind, preliminary plat here, there's going to be some tweaks to the final plat, so it's really hang our hat on in the end.
Sure. I just want to make sure it's covered because sometimes we get in this situation where we didn't bring it up in the preliminary plat, and now it feels like we're imposing upon them when it goes to that next step. And I'd rather just have it all out in the open right away.
So what's the logic associated with road work on phase 1 as it relates to the subsequent phases?
As far as the number of lots you're talking about?
Yeah. The access point off of Martin makes sense, on marketability and all that. That makes sense to me. But relative to terminations of those roads, where are they going to end up?
So, as far as where they're actually going to end up between the two options.
Do they just complete them up until phase 1 the borders there?
And our,
when they propose their construction plans, they'll show, because economy of scale, you can only do so big, right? I know there's money to be saved with big projects, but you can only do so much at once and try to recoup some costs along the way. So, once you get to the end of whatever they define, and like I said, that's why these lines to me are very loose. I don't put weight on these lines. It's more so a practicality. That's why setting a lot count, I think, is helpful, because that allows that line to be a little more fluid. And so we can say, okay, once you hit to this lot count, that would be your, to the point where we're okay with just one access point. And once you're above that, we want there to be some type of second access point to college.
Purposes.
Yeah.
Right.
And even in that case, we'd probably want to be for full access for construction traffic at least on a limited basis until the main access was done.
Yes.
Right, so at this point in time, 30 lots would become phase one, and at that point, we have to make a decision whether that's acceptable to have one egress for 30 lots?
I guess that's the way to look at it. And even though the developer may choose to do more than 30, that just means that right off the bat, they're starting to work towards that
I
other
guess
access.
on the flip side, if everything goes sour, we're gonna have one egress point for 30 lots perpetually until
Which
we
is
move on.
why we came up with a number that we're comfortable with, knowing
so
that that could happen.
We've done this before, 30 seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, if this was a landlocked piece of land, no other option, for connections, then we might get a little more leery, but there's so many connections in multiple directions for future road stubs that it leaves a lot of room for other options in the future.
So do you want a motion for an amendment?
Yes,
So I'll move to amend
for the 30 lot count
the 30 lot count.
To-
As is customary.
to initiate a secondary access onto College.
Right.
Second.
Discussion on the motion to amend. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to amend, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to amend is unanimous. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously as well. Miscellaneous business, discussion regarding Plan Commission date conflict with elections. The April Plan Commission falls on Election Day. We use this room for elections, so we're wondering if you're open to scheduling a different night. Like, I think we did Thursday last?
Yeah, I looked at the calendar and Wednesdays can sometimes be a court day, so I don't know, I don't really look at the court schedule yet, but Thursday is usually a pretty safe day. So the meeting should have been the 5th of April, and yeah, we could try to throw out the 7th.
Does anyone see any initial conflicts with that?
I'll have one, but that's okay.
Pickleball.
All right,
Pickleball?
all right, we'll work around that. Thank you. No other business. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 6:32. Thank you.
We're here next time.